I've kind of struggled with my mental health from the age of 16, 17.
And I knew that I was in a bad way, and I knew that I'd had enough.
Self-harmed and had pretty awful thoughts.
You could walk out into the street and ask 20 people, do you realise there's a domestic American football league in England? And probably 18 will say, not a clue. My name is Robert Hardwick, I'm 37, I'm from Nottingham, and I played for the Nottingham Caesars. Played as a defensive back in the domestic league.
So I'm Russ Paulson, I'm from Middlesbrough in the northeast of England, 33 years old. I've played offensive line, defensive line, and middle linebacker, my favourite position to play.
Ben Lawson, Kingston upon Thames, I'm 22. I played for Warwick Wolves for 3 years as offensive line.
I'm Wayne Drew, originally grew up in the Black Country, and I'm 32. A friend of mine who I used to live with convinced me to turn up to American football, and then, pretty much fell in love with American football at the Warwick Wolves. I then moved to Coventry Jets, Tamworth Phoenix, Saarland Hurricanes in Germany, Seinäjoki in Finland with the Seinäjoki Crocodiles, played with Frankfurt Galaxy, and then most recently I played at Tamworth again.
I am from the northeast of England, where men are men, and that's the way it is. You don't talk about your feelings and everything. I've had some rough times. I've self-harmed and had pretty awful thoughts. When my kid was less than a year old, I was in a real rough place and couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I'd go to work and the drive home was an hour, and looking at sort of oncoming traffic and thinking, if I just veer off slightly to the right, this problem all goes away and everything's better because I'm not here anymore. And it came to a head when my missus was in the bathroom and I was trying to change my boy and he wasn't having any of it, kicking off and screaming, and she came out to find me just on the floor, just in tears.
Back in 2007, I just remembered feeling really low all the time, and then it all culminated in one night. I was out at a works party and I took 2 fresh razor blades out with me that night, and I knew that I was in a bad way, and I knew that I'd had enough. I took myself away from the crowd and started cutting myself as deep as I could get and as much as I could. But then I realised pretty quickly that I couldn't cut deep enough, and I couldn't achieve what I was, I guess, hoping to achieve. And I was found and taken to hospital, where I was treated and I was assessed by a psychiatrist at the hospital. And that's pretty much my big low point.
I've kind of struggled with my mental health from the age of 16, 17, predominantly with depression, anxiety and body dysmorphia. I unfortunately went down the wrong path of trying to find an outlet for my mental health for many years, which culminated in a lot of kind of self-harm, to the extent that it became a bit of an addiction at times, because it was how I could rationalize what was going on inside my head.
A friend of mine in 2017 took his own life. He was a guy I played with over at Coventry, and everyone was absolutely dumbfounded. So we were all stumped, didn't know how or why this had come about. It ultimately made me realise, and a handful of the guys within that group, if we didn't know, and we were the lads that he would play with, where's the outlet? Like, who's he talking to?
And I remember sitting in the office with the doctor, and he just said to me, Mr. Hardwick, you need a real problem, which back then, it's a long time ago, and I don't think mental health was talked about anywhere near enough. And thinking back now, that was like a very early man up to me, and almost as if to belittle my problems and how I felt. But he did also say, you need to do something productive and something that you may not have done before that will give you something to focus on. And it wasn't until 2009 when I found football, but it was those words that rang true in my ears when I did find it. And actually, looking back now, as wrong as he was to say what he said with the first part, that advice was right.
I was walking home along the river and I'm just thinking, just haul yourself in the river. Easy done, fixed. I didn't. I rang the head coach of the Cats, who's a good friend of mine, and I know he has similar issues. And I rang him and just said, Andy, this is where I'm at. This is the conversation I've just had. This is what I've just been told. Help. And he was really good and honest and sort of talked me down from where I was. That's through football, having that guy there that I know that I could call him and give me some support. There's nobody else I'd have called in that moment other than him or somebody else through football. And now, we have good days, we have bad days. I've got past it and woke up this morning, we go again.
Thankfully, that's something that's no longer a part of my life, but it was for a while. And I kept trying to find outlets. It was only through playing American football and finding the gym through that in a bigger way that I was able to have an outlet that meant that I knew that there was something tangible I could do when I was feeling really down or really anxious that would silence the demons, for want of a better word.
Yeah, I sort of realised that we need to do something more for people who are struggling. Out of that sort of blossomed Lifting the Lid, which is there to just increase the dialogue within the Britball community. The nature of the game, it's, macho men who have to put on the persona of, I'm a bloke, I'm a geezer, I can deal with this, it's fine, or I'm fine, you could say. And ultimately, more often than not, that's a facade just to get through the day and sort of convince yourself, oh, it's going to be fine, or to ultimately not appear to be weak.
And then he set up a few things during COVID as well around men's mental health, just to get people talking and get people not to just close off. It's still to this day quite a taboo subject. People think it's a shameful thing, but it's not shameful. We all feel it. And having something like Lifting the Lid just makes you realise that you're not alone in your struggle.
Through playing American football, going to the gym, trying to get stronger and having these little targets, it was the first time I think I'd found a proper outlet. If I'm feeling really down, I know playing football will help, or I'll know that training means I'll see people and that helps.
It's a form of meditation where you can just let everything else dissolve around you, so to speak. It's a stable base. It's always going to be there. You've got football, you've got the guys, and you then also have a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging within the team, and you always know that with the guys around you, you're all working to the same goals.
Your brain switches off. Those problems go away, they disappear. For 4 quarters, you're running around and the real life problems aren't problems, because your only problem is, their running back's really tricky, or our scheme doesn't really match up for that, and you try and work around those problems. Now it's off season, I've still got the gym, do what my plan is, do whatever I'm doing, and that's all, with the goal of next season.
The nature of football, there's each individual unit and they will form, more often than not, stronger bonds than what you get elsewhere.
Found, for want of a better word, validation for being a bigger guy and that having a use on the pitch, especially in the trenches.
I would have probably been overlooked by a few. I never felt like I weren't going to be afforded the opportunity to get better.